Today I'm going to show you how we pour 12,000 square feet of metallic epoxy at an aquarium in 12 different colors.
I know we're acting stupid, being dumb, maybe just a little bit foolish, but I feel so young. Just go a little crazy and lose it. I don't care if we're dumb, it's the only way we know how to do it. You make me feel so young. Oh.
This aquarium is being built in a local mall that is about 40 years old. This space has had a bunch of different retail stores in it over the years. So the first thing we're going to do is grind off the paint or the tile or whatever else is on this floor to prep it for the epoxy. This job was time sensitive, so we are here and the place needs to open in about 2 or 3 weeks. So we have a very limited window to get this project done. And one of the first things we noticed was that there was a bunch of patching or trenches in the concrete. I guess they'd been put there to change where cash registers are or change plumbing in the old building. The concrete they used to patch it with wasn't great. So we're going to tear out some of the old concrete trenches and we're going to patch it back with a mixture of epoxy and sand. And the reason we're using this mix is because we know it'll set up pretty quick and we won't have to worry about the time it takes for concrete to cure. Once we get the deep areas patched, we have to start working on the small chips or cracks or any other irregularities that are in the surface of the concrete. Metallic pigment and metallic epoxy will always find the low spots on the floor, so we have to patch the entire thing so that after we apply our primer, it looks like a smooth sheet of glass. We do this by mixing our vapor barrier epoxy with Cabosil powder to the consistency of a putty, and we scrape it across the floor with a drywall knife to get it level. Once the floor is completely patched up, we're ready to apply our vapor barrier primer. I did a full review of this Column-Mix X06 mixing station. I'll leave a link at the end of this video if you want to learn more about it. We're mixing 3 gallons of vapor barrier primer with metallic pigment at a time. We're shooting for 100 square feet per gallon, so we're just pouring each batch on the floor and spreading it over a 300 square foot area with a squeegee. Once it's spread, we back roll it with a roller. We used a dark gray metallic pigment in our primer for most of this project, but in this one room there's going to be a light tan epoxy that's supposed to look like a beach. We wanted to use a brown primer in that area so that it would complement the sand color.
I know we're acting stupid, being dumb, maybe just a little bit foolish, but I feel so young. Just go a little crazy and lose it. I don't care if we're dumb, it's the only way we know how to do it.
Hey, my name is Tim with Decorative Concrete in Virginia. I make a lot of videos about concrete. If that sort of thing is interesting to you, hit the subscribe button down below. This project started in a room that's going to have an Amazon theme, and the 2 colors they picked were just a brown and a green. And they didn't really have a design for this one. They just asked us to use 50% brown and 50% green, and then we're supposed to swirl it all together on the floor. There's actually a boat over in one corner of this room, and they asked us to put blue epoxy around the boat so that it looks like water. So we laid the blue epoxy down, and then we pushed the brown and green epoxy up close to it, and then we just let it all blend together. There are parts of this project where we don't care if the colors mix together, like the brown and the green. That's fine for those to mix together, so we just use one roller for all of those. But whenever we have a solid color, like the sand color in the animal cages or the blue around the boat, we had to have a separate roller that was just for that color so that it stayed clean. The next room is going to have an Egypt theme, and this one's pretty simple. They just wanted to look like brown dirt, and they wanted a sand color that looks like it's blowing out of the desert into Egypt. They did want us to add some of that sand color in the middle of the dirt section, so after we put down the brown, we just poured some of the light sand color and we took a roller over it to try to blend it in. The transition between the sand and the dirt color is going to be very similar to what we did with the boat earlier. So we're just going to lay the sand color next to the brown and then use the roller to blend them together. The next room is supposed to be part of the Australian Outback. Around the edges of this room are where the animals are going to be, so Everywhere in this whole place, wherever there's going to be an animal pen, they're already putting this sandy color because it's mostly going to be covered by mulch. And then in the middle of this room is just a dark brown floor. So this is just a different shade of dirt, I guess. The edge of this room is going to begin the transition into Greenland or Iceland or whatever you want to call it. So the idea is that it's really dark water. And this dark water is eventually going to change over to icy water. This section of the project is called Pirate Land. On the right hand side of the room, the whole area is supposed to be a beach. If you look on the right, there's like a tiki bar and things like that. On the left hand side where the boat is, they want it to have what they call black water around the boat. So the idea is that it's going to be really dark water. This is one section where they kind of threw us a curveball. At the last second, they asked me if I could paint ripples of water around the tentacles around the boat. So we just made that work with the sandy color and a kitchen spatula. The next section has a tropical theme that's supposed to go along with the stingray tanks. This is the hardest part of the project for us because we're dealing with 3 different colors that have to be kept completely separate. So what that means is that we're actually going to have 3 different rollers, one for each color of epoxy that's on the floor. We also have to be careful where we walk. We wear spiked shoes when we walk into epoxy like this as we're rolling it, and those spiked shoes can track the wrong color of epoxy into the wrong place. Like I said, this is a tropical theme in this area. So there's going to be a lot of green grass, but the designers wanted us to put a dirt path through the middle of all that green grass. So we're doing our best to keep the colors mostly separated through here, but we wanted to make sure that we leave a distinct dirt path right through the middle. Once we finish the metallic coat up, we come back the next day and apply urethane. We use urethane with aluminum oxide mixed in. You really can't see the powder in the sealer, but it gives it a lot more durability. Rolling urethane is pretty simple. We like to think of this as 2 separate processes. The first job is to get the material spread on the floor, and we're shooting for 600 square feet per gallon. Once the material is on the floor, a second person comes and walks with the roller on the ground from one side of the room to the other without starting and stopping and without picking up the roller. This greatly reduces the chances of seeing roller marks in the finish. If you have any questions about this project at all, leave us a comment and we'll do our best to get back to you. And we may even do a follow-up to this video answering some of your questions. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button down below. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.